Hi there. Let me just see that everything's working. Um, cool. Let me let me check my audio. Yeah, I think the audio is coming through okay. Okay. So, um, this is welcome to my semi-weekly live stream. Uh, for those of you watching this later, hello. I'm probably going to do this on weekends going forward. I have some videos coming soon, so subscribe and so you don't miss any of them. So let's get right into it. This is going to be all, I'm just going to be talking about the Seestar S50 like I did last time, the smart telescope. It's I'm going to show some examples of some things that I've taken photos of in the last couple of weeks. And also I am going to go over how I got a video of a plane going across the sun. It wasn't purely luck. Um, it was some luck, but anyway, we'll get into that. So I do have some other astronomy equipment, but I've been mostly using the Seestar for the last few weeks. I've really been loving it. It's been great, very helpful, or very nice, very easy to use, quick setup, and which has been good because the weather's been very bad recently. Um, let me move the mic. Um, so sorry, just distracted by the. Want to make sure that the volume levels are good. Yeah, I think they're good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all of these all of the images I'm going to show were straight out of the telescope. They basically the Seestar. If you're taking a photo of something at night, like a galaxy or nebula, it takes 10-second exposures, a series of them, and then it combines them together. It auto stacks them into the final image, and what you're going to see is the final result, just out of the telescope with no extra work. It also has the option of storing individual frames, the individual raw 10-second exposures, and you can process them there yourself, and I'm going to go into that in a future video, but for now this is straight out of the telescope. um, I'm going to include a link in the description after to the article where I'm showing the images, so you can look at them for yourself instead of on YouTube. um, but what's the weather here, I mean, not just the weather, it's been very challenging, and it's very challenging here because I have I can only see a little bit of the sky from my backyard, and I live in the center of Houston, and the light pollution is about as bad as it can get. So you'll see that the results are actually pretty good, given the constraints. But first, before I get into it, I wanted to kind of quickly show the because last time I was live streaming, I was streaming video of the sun from here, so I wasn't able to show it on camera. But here's the telescope. As you can see, it's not actually that big. It's a pretty compact package. The it basically has a telescope in there. It's in this piece here. This piece rotates when it powers on. It's got a battery, uh, the computer to kind of process things, and it connects to Wi-Fi, and so you can control it through your phone. Um, but it's kind of like somewhat autonomous. You know, you tell it to point somewhere, it points somewhere, and it starts taking photos or video. Um, it also has a built-in light pollution filter, which is essential if you live in an area, especially as bad as where I live. Um, and it has this little clip-on solar filter. Um, this is in its case, but you can see the solar filter. Um, that's how I shot all the photos and video of the sun. And it also comes with this tripod. This is actually fully extended. It's a fairly short tripod, which can be good. It's closer to the ground, so less likely to get tipped over. But all of that is included, and it comes in this snazzy carrying case, which isn't that big. So it's very portable. It's very nice. It's the kind of thing you can easily bring with you when you're if you go somewhere where you have darker skies. So yeah. Besides the challenges of the light pollution, living in Houston, we have a lot of mosquitoes here, and so it's nice to be able to kind of put the telescope out in the backyard, turn it on, and then kind of retreat inside and kind of start pointing it at things and taking photos. So let's get into the actual results from the telescope. The video about the plane crossing the sun, I'll get to that later, because that requires a little bit more explanation. But I think it's something other people could reproduce, because I've been able to get a few plane shots since that original one. So because we've had some dark nights, so I've gone ahead and done some night shots, and a lot of these are works in progress. But you can see, let's go to the shared screen, or the crap. Thank you. What other audio was playing? Oh man, that's annoying. Oh, you know what? Crap. Anyway, let me turn this on. Oh. Anyway, it was echoing. I'm sorry about that. Well, I should make note of that. What was it? Oh, 13 minutes in. That's fantastic. Anyway, if you're just now, I'll add a note. I'll add a note afterwards to kind of of what point you should go in the video. But thank you, Chester, for letting me know that. Well, anyway, so getting back to this is M1, which is a yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks for that. Thank you. So this is M1, which is a supernova remnant. It was seen in the Middle Ages by it was visible to the naked eye, but now we can see kind of where the star exploded, which is, it's kind of cool. Again, these are things that when I did observational astronomy, I wasn't able to really see. or I had, you didn't really see them with this kind of detail. So here's another thing, M37. It's just a star cluster, 7 minutes of exposure. This is the Pleiades. I really need to do this one longer. The kind of the blue fuzzy area is actually some nebulosity. It is supposed to be that color, but I need to do some more processing of it and do longer exposures. This was kind of a work in progress. This is a tiny galaxy I managed to image. So this is interesting. So this kind of shows you how it builds it up. I did a series of screenshots, and here it is at, what do you call it? This is M42, and it's the Orion Nebula. And this is what you see on the screen when you first point it at the Orion Nebula. And this is in my heavily light polluted area. So if you do it out somewhere else, it's probably going to be brighter. And you can see this green thing where it says filter. That indicates that I had the light pollution filter on. So this is like the live view of it. Now, after 10 seconds, the first 10-second exposure, this is what it looks like, which is just phenomenal, I think. But granted, the Orion Nebula is a very bright object. And so you get to see as it kind of builds up the exposure. I got it up to 3 minutes. Here it is at 6 minutes. And I redid the whole thing after 15 minutes, which I personally think this is really awesome to be able to do this from a really badly light polluted backyard with high clouds. I mean, for me, it feels like if I could do it in these circumstances, like anybody should be able to do it. So now on to the main thing I was going to discuss. So first I'm going to play the video that I shot. And so I basically I'll kind of go into the mechanics of how this actually happened. I mean, this is something that I captured out of the telescope. It was as you see it, the 10% speed. I basically took the video into a video editor, and I slowed it down. And then the 25%, I slowed it down, but I used DaVinci Resolve to kind of smooth out the video. So there's some artifacts. But what happened is I hadn't actually, I'll tell you how I kind of started videoing these, but I was videoing it, the sun, and I was hoping to capture a plane. And I ended up kind of looking at my phone, and I saw kind of this turbulence along the edge of the sun here. And I was like, that's weird. Like, that looks like more than just sun turbulence from like the heat and convection. And so I rewound it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I captured this jet going right across the sun. And you can see like the ripples from the jet trail here, like right here, you can see kind of, and then as it goes past, you can see the exhaust. And so, yeah, I was like super happy with that. And this is a YouTube short I posted. And so let me tell you, it was kind of, it wasn't actually, let me stop this. It wasn't actually, it involved kind of a little planning. I want to comment. Hi, yeah, Chester. 4 to 5 is, I would love to be in a Bortle 4 to 5. I mean, for those who don't know, Bortle scale is like how bad the light pollution is in an area. 1 is like the best you can have, and 9 is like the worst. 4 to 5 is pretty good. Um, especially from where I'm sitting, which is like 8, 9, it's about as bad as it can be. Like the sky brightness. I mean, like I say, you can see Orion, like the brighter stars in Orion, and you can see the belt stars barely. But like on a clear night, you can probably see a little bit better. But I used to joke years ago that like the star is pretty tonight, because like sometimes it felt like you could only see, the very brightest stars in the sky. It was just, it's so bad. And that's not even with when the moon's out. Like this is when it's dark. It's just, I mean, that's the disadvantage of living kind of in the middle of this giant city. Um, so, uh, so yeah, hold on. Let me remove that from but and yeah, thanks for commenting on that video. That was the sun crossing was amazing. So what I kind of, how I figured this out, or how I kind of approached this, is I live near, not like right next to it, but see this cluster of planes down here? That's one of Houston's major airports. So I live a few miles away from it, and depending on like the winds, I'm not a pilot, or I've flown a number of times, but I'm not a pilot or have any expertise. But I guess depending on the directions of the wind, some days the airplanes fly near our house or over our house when they're going into the airport, and they're kind of like on final approach, like the landing gear will be coming down, or they'll be down as they kind of go over our house or near our house. And so I figured that potentially I could get one, and I know ones go over the sun, because it happens every few days. Like I'll see a big shadow outside, like the whole house will just go dark for like a fraction of a second, because the plane shadow goes over our subdivision. So what I thought was, knowing that, and knowing that kind of like the sun is to the south, since we're in the northern hemisphere, the sun's to the south of, in the sky. And this time of year, given our latitude, like I know about how high in the sky it is. And I figured, well, if the planes, so you can click on these planes, it's pretty cool. So like I can click on this plane and see this plane is at 6,000 feet altitude, so almost a mile. So if you figure, well, a mile, and if, say, the sun, for the sake of an argument, is at a 45-degree angle, and that plane's a mile up, well, if you're a mile from where that plane is flying, it'll be approximately right where the sun is in the sky. So what I did, this is where the patience part comes in, is I kind of had this idea of like a box. It depends on the altitude of the plane, and you can click on it to figure out if this plane is like too high or too low. But I figured if you look at the plane, basically I kind of had this kind of, I didn't do an exact computation. I kind of eyeballed it, but basically I said, okay, like here is an area that if a plane goes into this area, as it approaches this area, I'm just going to hit start record on the Seestar. And then I'm going to stop after it kind of leaves that box. And in the case of that, of the video I just showed, I hit record, and like I say, I didn't even notice it, but the recording was like a minute and a half, and it was in it was more than a minute into it. Because the angle will change, not only north to like east to west. So like in the morning it'll be southeast, afternoon it'll be more southwest. And so I kind of, again, I don't do the exact computation. I kind of figured, okay, it's somewhere in this box. And so like if it were clear out today, this plane might be it's a little lower, but it could have been a candidate perhaps. So this is an interesting question. So do you account for the delay built into the flight radar? This website, this is Flight Trader 24, as near as I can tell, is actually real time or very close to it, because like the FAA publishes publishes some flight the FAA publishes radar information. A lot of that is delayed. Okay. So do you make the decision whether you see it, hear it? No. What I do is I kind of just look at the box on the map of I basically look at the box on the map, and as it approaches it, I would hit record, because a lot of times by the time I hear it, it's kind of like it's almost too late. And plus, if I wasn't sure about the latency, if I hit record, does the Seestar start recording like within a fraction of a second, or is there like a 1 second lag? So just to be safe, so I had a lot of these like 1 to 2 minute videos, and I basically just, that one video, I think it was on one day it was like the third time I tried it. But then there were other times where I'd have like a stretch of 10 and I'd have nothing. And sometime there was one where I went back and it was an airplane that was at like that one, the video I showed, the plane was kind of climbing out of the airport. And so it was still relatively low altitude. I've managed to capture ones like, let's check this one. Now, see, sometimes there'll be these planes that are coming across Houston, and you'll look at it and you'll see it's actually at cruising altitude, and it's just passing through. And there's been a few of those that I've managed to capture, but they're really hard to see on the video because the plane is so small, because it's up like 7 miles in the sky. But yeah, I don't wait until I can hear it, because I was afraid there'd be too much latency there. So I basically kind of drew the like mentally had the box on the screen, and I'd click on planes as they approached it. And if it was close to the box but high, I'm like, it's going to be above the sun. And if it's and so yeah, I wouldn't hit record, because like a lot of times and the ones that go directly over our house will hear, but the ones that are kind of like a mile or two south of the house, we won't necessarily hear it as loudly until it would have already passed over the sun. So so it was kind of like there was a certain level of luck with it, but I've managed to capture pretty much every day. I've been able to capture a plane. But like I say, I'm sure there's somebody could come up with a way to automatically figure this out, but I've just kind of eyeballed it. And yeah, it's actually kind of mesmerizing watching this website, I think, because like you can, and I find it interesting seeing like the paths as they come in, and then you'll see like, is that, yeah, you'll see private planes, anything that has like an FAA flight plan. Down here, there's NASA, the Johnson Space Center is located down here, and you'll see planes taking off from there. When I clicked on it, it was a NASA plane, and it looked like it's a flight trainer. So like the astronauts are out, training or whatever. One thing I haven't done that I haven't tried is a helicopter. We have helicopters that fly over a lot, and I haven't captured one of those, or I haven't been able to capture one of those, but I have gotten a few planes, which is kind of impressive. But anyway, so that's kind of that's been kind of my secret, as it were, or just my method. It just involved a lot of the nice thing is, since the telescope's sitting outside, I could either be sitting outside or I could be inside just on my laptop watching this. And then I had the app on the phone. I just hit record and wait a little bit and then hit stop. And yeah. So So Chester, yeah, um, have you tried it with lunar? I did. Let me go back up. Uh, I I did, like, this was one of the first shots I actually got with the telescope a couple weeks ago, um, and oops. Um, so you can see, yeah. I mean, the detail is pretty good, and like I say, this is just straight out of the camera, or I mean out of the telescope, and the seeing wasn't great. Um, the seeing wasn't great. I mean, as far as like you can see some blurriness, and it was because there was like a lot of air turbulence, and because I'm like surrounded by other buildings, like there's more convection, so the stability of the atmosphere isn't great. Um, but still, I was pretty pleased with it, and it's really neat because you bring up the app and you just say it has like different options, and one of them is just look at the moon, and it just goes to the moon, and then it stops when it's centered, and it's just it's very beginner friendly. I mean, I did like I say decades ago visual astronomy in my parents' backyard, and it was just so much more labor intensive. This is just it's kind of it's been really fun um, to just kind of look up. And I know a lot of telescopes have that these days. A lot of the ones with the go-to mounts, like they all have that. But I think that the Seestar, I know I keep plugging it, but um, it's yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the problem I've had. Uh, it's whenever you get new astro equipment, it clouds over. Oh yeah, I mean that's been the problem here. Like I pre-ordered it, and I got it in November, and like all summer here we had this drought where it was clear every day for like months, and then it started kind of into the fall, it started getting a little bit more cloudy, but it seems like, I mean, it's we needed the rain, but it's been kind of a drag from an astronomy point of view. But the nice thing, I mean, for me it's been great because basically I'd look at my phone and it's like, oh, it's going to be partly cloudy, and I just kind of peek my head out and I'm like, oh, it looks reasonable, let me just put it out there, and then I'm up and going, and then clouds come in and I'm done. But I've been able to get like little 1 hour windows in the evening, which has been phenomenal. I mean that's a lot of these new telescopes. But I think going back to the Seestar itself, it's really the company that makes it. They've done a lot of other kind of astronomy equipment, but just kind of the whole package where you get like, you get a little you get a refractor, and you get kind of like an ASI Air. You have like the little computer on it, and it has an app that drives it, and it has the digital camera in it, and it's just kind of it's really nice. Like you just set it up and turn it on, probably like update the firmware the first time you turn it on, and it's been fantastic. Um, so it's really kind of, especially given the challenging conditions around here, it's been great. Um, but yeah, I'm that's kind of it on on what I was gonna do. If there's not any other comments, I think I will probably end it at there. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, let me move this up so it's not behind my head. Yeah, it's been since I've gotten it. I got mine in November. But I have it has been really nice. They've updated the software, added some functionality. I know I read some review. I saw some videos where people had gotten it earlier, and they were saying, "Oh, it's too bad that like when it auto stacks, it doesn't save the individual frames." But by the time I got it, like they had added that to the firmware, which was great. And I yeah, I have played around with it. I have not planetary feature, but I have played around with the individual frames and processing them in PixInsight. Um, but I need to do some more with it just to play around with it and see what more information I can get out of it. The early results were good. Like like if you look at, let me go back to this. Like this one, you can kind of see grain in this. Some of the other ones were worse, but you can see a bit of grain in this, like some kind of graininess. And I ran it through uh, Graxpert or something like that, and it was amazing. It like cleaned that up, and so the photo looked even more impressive. And I need to play around with that more, and I'll have a follow up video or show it on a live stream. I haven't played with the regarding the comment. I haven't played around with the planetary feature. I need to, because right now Jupiter is like right overhead uh, during the night, and and it's been so nice and bright. Um, I need to try that out. Um, but I haven't yet. But I've been very happy with it. And another thing, the I'm looking forward to in April when the solar eclipse is it goes across the United States. I think I'm really looking forward to it because I don't know exactly where I'm going to be. I mean, it'll depend on the weather, but I like the idea that I can kind of get to a spot, set it up, and I'm like good to go almost immediately. Um, so I think this will be great. Um, this will be great for that. And I got an email today that from one of the astronomy telescope companies that they actually have them in stock now. I have a link in the description to where I got mine directly from Seestar, but the but yeah, so availability is I think improving a bit. So if you want to get it for the eclipse, definitely shouldn't delay because I don't you never know how the availability is going to be in the spring. But I think it'll be pretty neat. Um, and plus, just day to day, I mean, I got it originally because I wanted something to supplement what I had for like the Eclipse, but also the price point was great, like for what is included in it, and uh, but yeah, I've been like having a blast just going through things that I either had a hard time seeing visually years ago or that I just had never seen at all. Um, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, it's that's interesting that you can see the bands of Jupiter with post processing. I'll have to check that out. That would be amazing. Like, I mean, yeah, that would be really neat. I need to check that out. Thanks. Um, but yeah, it's like Chester said, it's not a the focal length isn't great. I mean, sorry, the focal length is fine. Uh, it's great, um, but it's not. You know, you're going to have some constraints, but it's amazingly capable for. And I feel like it's a great value. It's very yeah. I've I've had astronomy for hobby for quite a while, and I'm just very pleased with it. Um, so yeah. Um, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't. I'm going to be driving to the eclipse, so I'm probably not going to be flying with it. And I have some other things planned, uh, where I'm going to bring along the I'm going to bring along the Seestar, but I'm going to be driving as well, so I don't have to worry about it. But I think if the battery is the right size, if the battery is the right size, there shouldn't be any problem. Because like generally that's the only problem. Um, I mean, and the pack the package is. I mean, this is definitely carry on. Like this would fit in my carry on suitcases. Um, oh, good stuff. Mosaic option. Oh, that's awesome. Because I one of the first things. So mosaic being so that you can combine multiple images. And since the telescope is pretty accurate and it knows where it's pointing, it should be able to do uh, kind of combine images. It should be able to take a series of photos and then combine them into a single image. And the first time, I almost immediately wanted that feature, uh, because when I try to point it, when I pointed it at the Andromeda galaxy, and I was imaging it, and I started building up, decent image of the Andromeda core, but then I I realized quickly, actually I realized before I even started taking the photos that it's way too big to fit in a single frame. So that would be perfect. That would be perfect uh, for targets like the Andromeda galaxy, or if you want to take photos of kind of the different parts of the Orion complex, uh, like Bernard's Loop and the Orion Nebula and stuff, that would be amazing. That would be I would be so pleased with that. That would be fantastic. Um, yeah, same for the Heart Nebula. Yeah, I mean, or Milky Way stuff. Like you could get like an extended patch of the Milky Way. That would be amazing. You also you also mentioned the time lapse. I haven't actually. I've pointed. Uh, I've pointed. So the telescope. That's another thing. So it not only has sky observation things. It has modes for the sun, the moon, planets, and like deep sky stuff. It also has modes for scenery. And I've pointed it at some things like office buildings, but I'm not in an area where I can really there's nothing really to point it at. And the other issue I ran into is the minimum focus distance. I mean, it's a telescope, but the minimum focus distance was like however many dozen meters it was. I didn't like. I tried to point it at a neighbor's tree, and it was too close. um, it was having a hard time locking onto it. Um, but like, I would love to take it somewhere where I can look at wildlife or some. Sorry about that. Wildlife or something. I'm probably going to have to edit this video, especially with the audio in the beginning. Um, but anyway, yeah. So, um, yeah, I'm. It's still relatively early days for me. This has only been a few weeks that I've had this, so I'm gonna do probably a standalone video, kind of going into this, maybe summarizing some of this video on my last live stream, and maybe with some more uh, imagery, because it's supposed to be clear here on Sunday, Monday, or Monday, Tuesday. So fingers crossed I'll be able to get something. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. If you want to check it out, down in the description, there's a link. Um, it's just an affiliate link, but it's great. It's a great. I may have accidentally purchased a second one. It was when it was pre-ordering, but that's a topic for another day. But I've been super pleased with it. Um, so much to the point where I'm almost regretting some other recent astronomy gear I bought that hasn't gotten nearly as much use as this has. So that's and I wouldn't consider myself an advanced uh, person, um, but I have a decent amount of experience over the years. Again, more visual than contemporary imaging. But yeah, thanks Chester, and thanks for letting me know about the volume issues early on. That's unfortunate. I'll have to go back and look and see what was happening, and see if I can fix it. Otherwise, I'll upload a edited version of this, hopefully. But thanks for tuning in, and if whoever's watching this afterwards, please, you know the drill. Like and subscribe, and I will I will see you all next time. Bye.